नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 9, The Passing Away of Bhishma Deva. Text 25. Suta Uvacha Yudhishthirastad Akaranya Shayanam Sharapanjare Apruched Vividhan Dharman Rishinam Chanushanvatam.
Suta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthir, after hearing Bhishmadev speak in that appealing tone, asked him in the presence of all the great rishis about the essential principles of various religious duties.
Text 26. पुरुषस्वभावविहितान् यथा वर्णं यथाश्रमं वैराग्यरागोपाधिभ्याम् आत्मतोऽभ्यलक्षणान्.
At Maharaj Yudhishthir's inquiry, Bhishmadeva first defined all the classifications of caste and orders of life in terms of the individual qualifications. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment.
Text 27. Dhana dharman rajadharman moksha vibhagashah Sri dharman bhagavad dharman samasa vyasa yogatah.
He then explained by divisions acts of charity, the pragmatic activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively.
Text 28. धर्मार्थ काम मोक्षंश्च सहोपायान् यथा मुने नानाख्येने स्थितेषु वर्णयाम आश तत्त्ववित्.
Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth.
Text 29. धर्मं प्रवदस्तस्य स कालः प्रत्युपस्थितः यो योगिनश्चन्द्रमृत्योर्वञ्चितस्तु तुरायनः.
While Bhishmadev was describing occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will.
Text 30. तदोपस्मृत गिरः सहस्रनीर् विमुक्तसङ्गं मन आदिपुरुषे कृष्णे लसत्पीतपते चतुर्भुजे पुरः स्थिते मिलितदृग्व्यधारयत्.
Thereupon that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings, and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men, stopped speaking, and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined.
Text 31. विशुद्धया धारण्यायता शुभस् तद् ईक्षय वासु यत् गतायुधश्रमः निवृत्त सर्वेन्द्रियव्रति विभ्रमस् तुष्टावजन्यं विसृजाञ्जनार्दनम्.
By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendently to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body.
Text 32. Shri Bhishma Uvacha Iti Matir Upkalpita Vitrashna भगवती सात्वत पुंवे विभुम्नि स्वसुखम् उपगते क्वचित् विहृतुं प्रकृतिम् उपयेषु यद्भव प्रवह.
Bhishmadev said, "Let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although for him only the material world is created."
Text 33. त्रिभुवन कमनं तमालव्रणं रविकरगौर्वर अम्ब्रं दधने वपोरलककुलाव्रतानां चं विज्ये सखे रतिरस्तु मे नववद्या.
Shri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjun who has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the Tamala tree. His body attracts everybody in the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp be the subject of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results.
Text 34. युधितुर्गरजो विधुम्र विश्वक् कचललितश्रमवर्य अलङ्कृतास्ये मम निशीत शरीर विभिद्यमान त्वचि विलसत् क्वचेस्तु कृष्ण आत्मा.
On the battlefield where Shri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised by the hoofs of the horses, and because of his labor, beads of sweat wetted his face. All these decorations, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind go through unto Shri Krishna.
Text 35. सपदि सखीवचो निशम्य मध्ये निजपर्योर्बल्यो रथं निवेश्य स्थितवती परसैनिकायो रक्ष्णा रतवती पार्थ सखे रतिर्ममास्तु.
In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Shri Krishna entered the arena of battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhan, and while there he shortened the lifespans of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna.
Text 36. व्यवहितप्रतनामुखं निरीक्ष्य स्वजनवधात् विमुख्यस्य दोषबुद्ध्या कुमतिम् अर्हत् आत्मविद्यया यश्चरणरति परमस्य तस्य मेस्तु.
When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction.
Text 37. स्वनिग्मम् उपहाय मत्प्रतिज्ञां रतम् अधिकर्तुम् अवप्तुतो रथास्थः धृतरथचरणो अभ्याच चलाद्गुर् हरिरिव हन्तुम् इभं गतोरियः.
Fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran towards me hurriedly. Just as a lion goes to kill an elephant, he even dropped his outer garment on the way.
Text 38. शीतविशीखहतो विशीर्ण दंशः क्षतज परिप्तुत अतात्तयिनो मे परसभम् अभिशासरमद्वधार्थं स भवतो मे भगवान् गतिर्मुकुन्दः.
May he, Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who awards salvation be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me as if angry because of the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. His shield was scattered, and his body was smeared with blood due to the wounds.
Text 39. Vijaya Ratha Kutumbha Ata Totre Dratahaya Rashmini Chatriye Kshaniye Bhagavati Rate Rastume Mumursor Yam Iha Nirakshaya Hata Gataha Swarupam.
At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjun, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjun's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death.
Text 40. ललित गति विलास वल्गुहास प्रणयन प्रणय निरीक्षण कल्पितो रुमानः कृतमनुकृतवत्य उन्मादान्धः प्रकृतिं मगन् किल यस्य गोपवद्वः.
Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Shri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attract the damsels of Vrajadam, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rasa dance.
Text 41. मुनिगण नृपवर्य संकुलेन्तः सत्सि युधिष्ठिररत्सूय येषाम् अर्हनम् उपपेद वीक्षणीयो मम दृशि गोचर एष आविरात्मा.
At the Rajasuya Yajna sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthir, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders, and in that great assembly, Lord Shri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during my presence, and I remembered the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord.
Text 42. तम इमम् अहम् अग्नं शरीरभजां हृदि हृदि दृष्टितम् आत्मकल्पितानां प्रतिदृशम् इव नैकधार्कम् एकं संधिगतोऽस्मि विधूतभेदमोह.
Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord, Sri Krishna, now present before me. Before now, I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one.
Text 43. Sut uvacha Krishna evam bhagavati manovagdrishtivratibhihi atmanya atmanam aveshya sho antah swasa uparamat.
Sutta Goswami said, this Bhishmadev merged himself in the Supersoul, Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent and his breathing stopped.
Text 44. Sampadyamanam agnaya Bhishmam brahmani nishkale sarve babhuvuste tushimin vayamsiva dinatyaye.
Knowing that Bhishmadev was merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day.
Hare Krishna, sorry. Text 45. तत्र दुन्दुभयोनेदुर् देवमानववादितः शशंसु साधवो राज्ञां खाट्पेतु पुष्पवर्ष्तयः.
Thereafter, both men and demigods sounded drums in honor, and the honorary royal order commenced. demonstrations of honor and respect, and from the sky fell showers of flowers.
Text 46. तस्य निर्हरनाधीनि सम्परे तस्य भार्गव युधिष्ठिरकार्यित्वा मुहूर्तं दुःखितो भवत्.
O descendant of Brigu's Sonika, after performing funeral rituals for the dead body of Bhishmadev, Maharaj Yudhishthir was momentarily overtaken with grief.
Text 47. तुष्टुवोर्मुनयो हृष्टा कृष्णं तद्गुह्यनामभिः ततस्ते कृष्णहृदयः स्वाश्वमान् प्रययुः पुनः.
All the great sages then glorified Lord Sri Krishna, who was present there, by confidential Vedic hymns. Then all of them returned to their respective hermitages, bearing always Lord Krishna within their hearts.
Text 48. ततो युधिष्ठिरो गत्वा सह कृष्णो गजाह्वयं पितरं सन्त्वयामास गन्धारिं च तपस्विनीम्.
Thereafter, Maharaj Yudhishthir at once went to his capital, Hastinapur, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and then he consoled his uncle and aunt Gandhari, who was an ascetic.
Text 49. पित्रचानुमतो राजा वासुदेवानुमो राज्यं धर्मेण पितृपितामहं विभुः. हरे कृष्ण.
After this, the great religious king Maharaj Yudhishthir executed the royal power in the kingdom strictly according to the codes of royal principles approved by his uncle and confirmed by Lord Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shriya Mataji and Jyoti Mataji. Shriya Mataji, thank you. That was very complex, measure, complex Sanskrit words there. You did really well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. Well, let me share my screen now. So we will discuss verse number 29, 30 and 31 today. We'll discuss 3 verses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Verse 29. Dharmam Pravadatastasya Sakala Pratyupasthitaha Yo Yoginas Chandamrityor Vanchitastu Uttarayanaha. Dharmam Pravadatastasya Sakala Pratyupasthitaha Yo Yoginas Chandamrityor Vanchitastu Uttarayanaha. Translation. While Bhishma Dev was describing occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will, purported by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. The perfect yogis or mystics can leave the material body at their own sweet will at a suitable time and go to a suitable planet desired by them. In the Bhagavad Gita 8:24, it is said that self-realized souls who have exactly identified themselves with the interest of the Supreme Lord can generally leave the material body during the time of the fire god's effulgence, and when the sun is in the northern horizon, thus achieve the transcendental sky. In the Vedas, these times are considered auspicious for quitting the body, and they are taken advantage of by the expert mystics who have perfected the system. Perfection of yoga means attainment of such super mental states as to be able to leave the material body as desired. Yogis can also reach any planet within no time without a material vehicle. The yogis can reach the highest planetary system within a very short time, and this is impossible for the materialist. Even attempting to reach the highest planet will take millions of years at a speed of millions of miles per hour. This is a different science, and Bhishma Deva knew well how to utilize it. He was just waiting for the suitable moment to quit his material body, and the golden opportunity arrived when he was instructing his noble grandsons, the Pandavas. He thus prepared himself to quit his body before the exalted Lord Sri Krishna, the pious Pandavas, and the great sages headed by Bhagavan Vyasa, etc., all great souls. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Madhobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavansha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sanyavadi Paschata Desharavane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Thank you, Hare Krishna devotees. So we are in this another section within this chapter. Now we are, as we discussed before, we are picking up the particular section as guided within Bhagavad Subodhini. So this is a new section, 29, 30, and 31. We will read the 30 and 31 as well. But this is now Bhishma Dev is now preparing himself for the final moment. And in this verse 29, what is described here is the Uttarayana has come. So every activity in the past, as per the Vedic life, there would be a muhurat, muhurat for pretty much everything, all the samskaras, or people would go to height of anything they would do, they would check whether that's the right muhurat or not. This is what used to happen in the past. Now the time has changed. We are in this another yuga. So in one way, it has made it, Lord Mahaprabhu has made it very simple for us. So we don't have to really look at the muhurtas. Or maybe there is no knowledge either. But the yogis are still, devotees are still following the principles. So Bhishma Dev has now seen, he's been waiting for this time. He had the Ichha Mrityu boon from his father. And he was waiting for the right time to arrive. As he was saying before, it's been nearly 58 days since he was laid on the bed of arrows. And he was waiting for Uttarayana to arrive. Uttarayana is when the sun enters into the Makar Rashi. Sorry, my voice is not good today. So he's been waiting for this time, and he was also approached by Yudhishthira at this time, inspired by Lord Sri Krishna within the hearts, to Yudhishthira to learn, not only to pacify Yudhishthir, but also for Yudhishthir to learn the intricacies of how to rule a kingdom. Bhishma has been looking after the throne for many generations, and no one could have been a better guide than Bhishma, who learned the various aspects of dharma from Brihaspati himself and lots of other great teachers. Yeah, so these days we recognize someone who studied from Oxford, someone studied from Harvard or Cambridge, great universities. So we say that this person has learned from that university, he must be something special because those universities are special. Now, what to speak of all these great rishis and sages who've been around for the whole kalpa, and they have seen many great souls coming and going, and they've been guiding many great souls. So, and Brihaspati is no one else but the teacher of the demigods, preceptor of the demigods. So Bhishma is, he's now realized the sun's course has run into northern hemisphere. That is, and Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita verses. There'll be more Bhagavad Gita verses later. So what is the difference between a materialist and a yogi? A yogi can choose when a yogi wants to leave his material body, whereas a material conditioned soul has no concept, no idea of what's going to happen. They never think of death. It is very inauspicious to talk about death, so let's keep quiet. Let's not discuss that time or the event that is certain. The only event that is certain after one's taken birth is two events actually. So there are no, we should say, taxes and death. So death is certain, but nobody wants to discuss it. A successful yogi, or how do you call a success of a yogi, is when the time comes for him to leave the body, he leaves at his own will, choosing the right moment, the right situation. And Bhishma has done that. He's not just a yogi, he's a great devotee of the Lord. Krishna also explains in the same chapter later on, for a devotee, it does not matter what time of the day or time of the year, or whether the sun is in this time or that time, or the moon is waxing or waning. Anything for a bhakta, for a devotee, it does not really matter, because Krishna himself takes care of the situation. And here, this verse, there will be many verses from the 8th chapter being quoted in the following text as well. Agni Jyotira Shukla Shanamasha Uttarayana. Because 6 months of Shanamasha Uttarayana, 6 months of sun in the Uttarayana. Tatra Prayada Gachanti Brahma Vido Janaha. So those who know the Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months. This is something we have studied when we did Bhagavad Gita chant. So the difference between the yogi and the conditioned soul, Srila Prabhupada mentions more about perfection of yogi. A yogi can reach any planet within a short time, whereas the modern day scientists and some of the great entrepreneurs are trying to go to another planet, Mars or some other planet, trying to spend a lot of effort, a lot of money is being wasted, whereas yogis could do that just by their sadhana, in the meditation. They could travel anywhere in the world. So Prabhupada has written some books, small books also in that account. So this is the state of a devotee. This is the art of dying, and we learned. There are some institutes which are teaching art of living, but devotees learn the art of dying. The next verse. Tadopasabhrita girasasthanes vimukta sangamanadi purushe Krishne lasatpita pate chaturbhuje purastite militadrig vedharayat. Translation. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking, and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila. Would anyone like to read this page? Quite a few verses from the 8th chapter.
Is it the purport, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
I will, if you don't mind, can I read?
Please read.
Thank you. In the momentous hour of leaving his material body, Bhismadev set the glorious example concerning the important function of the human form of life. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. Therefore, if one is absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he is sure to go back to Godhead without any doubt. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 8.5 to 15. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, Arjuna, is sure to reach me. One should meditate upon the smallest person as the one who knows everything, as he is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond this material nature. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and in full devotion engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons learned in the Vedas who utter Omkara and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pratha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Sri Bhismadev attained the perfection of quitting his body at will and was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of his attention, personally present at the time of death. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him. He wanted to see Sri Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with the detailed performance of yogic principles. Simple bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. Therefore, the ardent desire of Bhismadev was to see the person of Lord Krishna, the most lovable object, and by the grace of the Lord, Sri Bhismadev had this opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji. So, after all these verses described in the 8th chapter by Sri Krishna to Arjun, how a yogi leaves the body, very detailed description. Srila Prabhupada summarizes simple bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. So all that perfection a yogi has to do, practices and all that, it becomes very simple for a devotee. Because the perfection from the beginning to the end, devotee is always engaged in the remembrance of Krishna. Prabhupada says 24 hours a devotee is engaged. The yogis are doing some sadhana, all the Ashtanga yoga for some time, 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, 5 hours. But a devotee is always engaged. Srila Prabhupada was always engaged. There was never a time he was not engaged in Krishna consciousness. And that's what he was asking us to do as well. And he would say, what is the difficulty? There's a book called What is the Difficulty? It's a very nice book written by one of his disciples. Which mentions many of such incidents. Prabhupada would say, what is the difficulty? I'm doing it, you can also do it. So, yes, so the beginning of this verse is mentioned, the subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. Yam yam vapi smaran bhav, tejat yante kalevaram, tam tamevati konteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. And it is also mentioned about the human life. How rare is human life? In the momentous hour of leaving his material body, Bhishmadev set the glorious example concerning the important function of the human form of life. It's an amazing statement from Srila Prabhupada. Everything else that is done in relationship to the body can be done in any body, any life of the 8.4 million. Any other life apart from human life, someone can do exactly the same. There is no difference. So, but the human life is so special. Actually, there's a beautiful verse Prabhupada we would quote quite often. From Uddhav Gita, Labdhva sudurlabham idam bhahu sambhavante. Manushya marthadam anityam apiha dhiraha. Turnam yatetana pated anumrityavan ni shesaya vishaya khalu sarvata shat. This also Krishna saying. After many, many births and deaths, one achieves the rare human form of life, which although temporary affords one the opportunity to attain the highest perfection. Thus, a sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection of life as long as his body, which is always subject to death, has not fallen down and died. After all, sense gratification is available even in the most abominable species of life. Yeah. Sense gratification is available even in the most abominable species of life, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human being. Now, someone may say, most people say, it's only one life. For them, what is the difference? They just live. They don't know what's going to happen, whether there's going to be next life or not next life. Just live once. But what they've done is they've lived a life of animal, just engaged in sense gratification. Whereas the scriptures explain how rare. So how rare is human life? There's a very good example given by someone in the Buddhism. I think we discussed before. So human life is rare, and how he says it is rare is just like a turtle. Turtle is like a sea animal. It lives always towards the bottom of the sea. It just always lives underwater. It's very rare that a turtle, once in a while, turtle would come up to the surface. Now the ocean is vast, and the turtle is normally living at the bottom of the sea, bottom of the ocean. And once in a while, when the turtle comes up, what is the possibility that a wooden yoke, which has been floating around, because the wind, there's always the waves on the ocean, large, huge waves. Anything floating, we've seen sometimes, there's some objects floating, they're just going from one place to the other place to other place, all over. Just imagine something like that on the Pacific Ocean. And there is this one blind turtle, actually, the one blind turtle at the bottom of the ocean. And once in a while, this turtle comes up to the surface. And the timing of that coming up and the yoke, the wooden yoke, floating at the same time in such a way that a turtle can go through that, he can then lock his neck on the yoke and float. What is the possibility of that? How rare that would be. And that's how rare the human life is. Would it not be a shame if someone had the human life and they wasted? And one devotee goes on to explain that. So if we understand further, if that yoke happens to be association of a devotee, association of the pure devotee of the Lord, how rare is that association? And how rare is that situation when someone gets a human life and they get connected to the devotees? Yeah, so that's the rarity. And then how much of a shame it will be that a human gets association of a pure devotee, and then also it does not take advantage of that situation. Yeah, so that is the most unfortunate thing to happen. Prabhupada used to quote about a very famous talk of a sadhu. Sadhu is blessing various types of people. Yeah, sadhu is blessing 4 different types. Does anyone remember that? Very nice analogy is given. The sadhu is first of all is blessing a prince. Yeah, he's blessing a prince that may you live forever. Why does he give a blessing? May you live forever, because this prince is living like he's with all the opulence, and he's enjoying his body to the fullest, full sense gratification. And he's given the blessing, may you live forever, because if he dies, he will not have a good next life. So the sadhu will always give a good blessing to someone. He gives that blessing to the prince. Yeah, may you never die. Then he says to the brahmachari, you better die now. Don't live. You better die now. Because the brahmachari is performing tapasya, lots of tapasya. Yeah. And he's struggling. But his death would bring him a blissful life. He says to Brahmachari. Then a devotee, a sadhu, he says, you either live or you die. It doesn't make a difference. Because a sadhu, a devotee, whether they live or they die, they're always glorifying Krishna. For them, there is no difference in death or the living. And to butcher, he says something interesting. He says, you better don't live and you don't die. He says, why does he say that? When now that you're living, don't live. If you're living, you are giving so much pain to the poor, innocent animals, killing them. And you better don't die. If you die, what kind of life you will get in the next birth? So this is the blessing of Sadhu Prabhupada will always say. Yeah. So this human life, which is so rare, if we are not able to make use of it, it will be such a regret. That I always think of this window shopping. We can live as a devotee, sometimes as a window shopper also. We can go around, we can see the devotees, we can see the temple, everything is very nice. The devotees are nice, the scriptures are nice, the association good, prasadam is good. Yeah, we go around, yes, very nice, everything is good, I'm liking it. But if we don't take it to the next level, to the sincerity of the heart, just like, we go around window shopping, oh, this is good, this looks very nice, this is expensive, maybe this is not for me, this is too much hard work, this is not for me, I can't wake up in the morning, it's too much for me, I have to go to so many classes, this and that, and so much work, not for me, I can't afford it. This is like window shopping of spiritual life. But we just forget that everything is free here. Maya plays such a role that someone who's not connected, he may think it's very expensive, but we forget that it's actually all free by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We just need to take a little bit of Shraddha. All that we need is a little bit of faith, conscious of time. Third verse. Sorry. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hata shubhas tat ikshvaya sugata yudashramaha nivritta sarvindriya vritti vibramas tishtavajanyam sajan janadanam. Translation. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material auspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendentally to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. Purport. The material body is a gift of the material energy, technically called illusion. Technical word is illusion for this gift. Identification with the material body is due to forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with the Lord. For a pure devotee of the Lord like Bhishmadev, this illusion was at once removed as soon as the Lord arrived. Lord Krishna is like the sun, and the illusory external material energy is like darkness. In the presence of the sun, there is no possibility that darkness can stand. Therefore, just on the arrival of Lord Krishna, all material contamination was completely removed, and Bhishmadev was thus able to be transcendentally situated by stopping the activities of the impure senses in collaboration with matter. The soul is originally pure, and also the senses. By material contamination, the senses assume the role of imperfection and impurity. By revival of contact with the Supreme Pure Lord Krishna, the senses again become freed from material contaminations. Bhishmadev attained all these transcendental conditions prior to his leaving the material body, because of Lord's presence. The Lord is the controller and benefactor of all living beings. That is the verdict of all Vedas. He is a supreme eternity and living entity among all eternal living beings. And He alone provides all the necessities of all kinds for living beings. Thus, He provided all facilities to fulfill the transcendental desires of His great devotee, Bhishma Dev, who prayed as follows. From tomorrow, the Bhishma Smriti will start. Very beautiful, amazing verses. So this is Prabhupada's quotation of Nitya Nityanam Chetans Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yadvidati Kaman. Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. Lord is the controller and benefactor of all living. So He is the Lord alone. He is the one who is providing, fulfilling everyone's desire. Eko Bahunam Viditati Kaman. So everyone's desires being fulfilled by the Lord Himself. And the living beings may have various desires. Someone wants to fly very high, they can get a life of an eagle. This is why some of my friends, they like to fly. They want to be pilot, and they are pilots, and they want to fly up in the air. And it's the passion for them is to be in the air, to fly. You can imagine how much eagle can fly just constantly. Some of the birds can fly for thousands of miles, without any navigation system or without any way to anywhere else to land. So they got a perfection there. There's so many types. All the senses that we can ever imagine. Actually, the perfection is more in the other animal life. In relationship to the body, not a single sense gratification that a human can have, which the other animal cannot have better. There are many animals. So again, it is such a shame. The only benefit the human life provides is the access to the spiritual life. But Lord Sri Krishna fulfills everyone's desire. If someone is desiring to live like an animal, their desires are also fulfilled. But here our devotee, great Mahajano Yena Kata Sapantha, Bhishma Dev's desire was, his heartfelt desire was to see Sri Krishna at the time of death. A similar event in Chaitanya Charitamrita with Haridas Thakur also. There's not enough time to discuss that. Haridas Thakur also had the desire to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the time of giving up his body, and Mahaprabhu fulfilled his desire. Beautiful, beautiful narration of that pastime within Chaitanya Charitamrita. So these are the three verses. Bhishma is detached. He's given many hundreds of verses, explanation of Dharma Shastra and various aspects of ruling a kingdom, living as a king, ruling as a king, to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he recognized the time, immediately stops at that time. Full Tarayana has arrived. He's stopped his external engagement. Just imagine someone like Bhishma, what he's lived. Many generations have come and gone. What type of memory he must be holding? He's not someone who will forget anything and everything. He remembers everything. For him, there's so many memories, so many things. Can you imagine? Like, I don't know. That experience we don't have of death. But we know even when we are a little bit unwell, the mind completely switches off. And all we think of is, how am I going to get better from this disease? So death is explained to be, most painful. There's like thousands of scorpions biting at the same time. In the previous verse, in this verse, he said now he is completely relieved of all bodily pain. So he's gone into complete samadhi. So in that state of mind and absorption in Sri Krishna, he's completely relieved. He cannot experience anything. All he can experience is a joy. This is the blessing of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. There are many such incidents within the devotees' lives also. We have heard that how devotees are taken care in a time of giving up their body. as Srila Prabhupada has promised everyone. We follow the regulative principles, we follow the do's and don'ts, then there is a promise from Srila Prabhupada. And he would not fail in his promise. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, devotees. Sorry, I'm a bit over time. It's 8:40. So any reflections, comments, questions, or complaints, corrections?
Very nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It's an amazing pastime. It's very beautiful. Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a serious topic. It's very nice. The prayers will start tomorrow. And I think we will have and beautiful discussions in coming weeks and days. Anything else? So should we call it a day? Okay, thank you very much, devotees. Santaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Krishna Prabhupada ki jai, Bhishmadev ki jai.
Jai. Vanchakapatarubyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Chaitanya Prabhu, Hare Hare, thank you.